The next cycle is the nitrogen cycle, which is important for all ecologists, but very important if you work in agriculture. So you're trying to be a farmer or whatever. So nitrogen is needed for plants to grow and very necessary for the start of most terrestrial food chains. We need nitrogen in the ground. So most of nitrogen exists right here in the air. So there is a reservoir, if you can see that. There is a reservoir of nitrogen in our atmosphere. And that reservoir, oh gosh, now I got to do this again. That reservoir constitutes most of the air. Most of the air you breathe is actually nitrogen. And so there's nitrogen everywhere, but the plants can't use it. But there are several ways that that nitrogen in the air can find its way into the soil where it can be used. So one thing is called atmospheric fixation, whereby energy inputs from our planet help to convert that inorganic nitrogen into a usable form. So here we see that route. I'm going to draw it going this way. So this is atmospheric fixation. The goal is to get here to usable nitrogen. Another way is through this path, fertilizers. So humans can make fertilizers, and we can spray them on the ground in a sort of chemical form. We could also just use animal waste as fertilizer. So we like to use horse and chicken manure here on the Eastern Shore. You've probably smelled that. And this happens in the wild all the time. So this caribou / elk or whatever can make a big stinky pile. And this plant will be, hold on, I need better color for that. This plant will be very, very happy for that pooping moose. The moose could also just drop dead and die. And if it dies, its nitrogen stored in its tissues will also make the plant very, very happy. In fact, there are plants out there that purposely trap organisms so that they will die and decay. The Venus flytrap comes to mind. It uses flies as a fertilizer. So dead things and pooping things help the tree or the plant. And so that takes this route. The animal waste basically finds what's called a decomposer, which are bacteria and fungi. So if you have ever planted a flowering plant in a flower pot or whatever, and you look at the soil after you've added fertilizer. So I have human-made fertilizers, or sorry, I have a man-made fertilizer that I use for my plants. I'll show you it in a second. And I use it to fertilize my plants. And you can see little tiny, white things growing all over the roots. That is fungus. There's also bacteria growing on these roots. Now I can't see the bacteria, and neither will you because they are microscopic, but they are also growing on the roots. And so these are special symbioses. The tree or the plant takes in sugar, takes in sunlight and makes sugar, and it feeds it to these microorganisms. And in exchange, the fungus and the bacteria trade for nitrogen. And so they make this form of nitrogen, ammonia, that is then converted by the plant into NO-2 and then a nitrate. And that is then taken up by the plant, right? So sorry, I got that wrong. The fungus and bacteria work together to make ammonia and then nitrates, and then those nitrites are turned into nitrates and then taken in by the plant. There are also certain bacteria that can denitrify. They can harness nitrogen and bring it back into the air. And so this makes a complete cycle. I said a lot there. Here's all you really need to know. Poop from the moose makes the tree happy, and also if it dies, that makes it happy. What you really need to know here is this. This is the most important thing for the SOL. Bacteria and fungus work on the roots of plants. They work on the roots of plants to turn unusable nitrogen into usable nitrogen. That's really the only thing I've ever seen on the SOL about the nitrogen cycle.